you don't want to be anywhere else except for sitting in front of your TV and waiting for BNL Courtside. And we are coming live from Wembley Arena, even though we're talking about week 6, because that's what we witnessed last weekend, and a whopping weekend of great basketball from Friday through Sunday. And it was just great being out here at Wembley Arena, bringing these games live to you. And of course, I am never alone. I'm always holding it down with my man at QD4. Welcome to Courtside, QD.
Well, thank you, at Perfect Gentese. You know, it's always been interesting. We don't have our man KP in Glovo. Once again, I'm not sure if he's exploring the Great Wall or where he's hiding away, but he's not with us today. But it was a great weekend of basketball. We had a lot of fun watching some of the games. Friday night, we had a lot of action. We had 4 games on Saturday and 3 games on Sunday.
It was just great basketball action throughout the weekend. And let's take a look at some of the fixtures and results starting on Friday. Some of the teams even bouncing, but let's take a look at our results and the fixtures from Friday. With the first games that we had on Friday, the KwaZulu Marlins beating the Limpopo Pride and the Eastern Cape Windbreakers going down to the Mpumalanga Rhinos. On Saturday, we had 4 whopping games. It was just a buffet for every basketball lover and supporter of the Basketball National League out there. The Windbreakers going down to the Suns, the Zebras going down to the Marlins, the Limpopo Pride with an improbable win over the Mpumalanga Rhinos, the Warriors coming up short against the Panthers. On Sunday, we had 3 big games, the Magic trouncing the Zebras, the Mountaineers going up against the Eagles and eking out a victory over them, and a 5-point victory in the clash of the Titans for the Duzi Royals over the Tshwane Suns.
Windbreakers versus Marlins on the Sunday, and Mpumalanga Rhinos taking on the Warriors, and that's rounded out by the Tshwane Suns taking on the Limpopo Pride. It promises to be a great week 7, and the fixtures looking kind of promising.
Thank you very much, Q. Of course, after a week break, the teams came back for week 6, and our first fixture on Friday evening, we had the KwaZulu Marlins going back to winning ways against the Limpopo Pride. Let's take a look.
Well, it was going to be a close affair, of course. The Marlins, a structured basketball team, and they're coming up against an athletic and transition-based Pride. And it was all Marlins from the start to the end. And it was a good display by the Marlins on the floor. Shange, he knocked it down from the perimeter.
Well, it was just great because Musefele hitting that 3 on the wing, controlled and getting everyone involved. Tepo Pokwani finally getting and hitting some offense and giving the Pride some production on the floor. And of course, Jerry Manubele, 2-hand flush off the loose ball. And you've just got to love Jerry Manubele when he gets the ball in the open court. He goes up and brings it down. And that flush right there really got the crowd on their feet and firmly engaged in the game. But of course, the Marlins were a little too much for the Pride to handle. It was, look at Christian Kabasele also getting involved in the offense, giving them the offense and the production that they needed. Darren Holcomb also was working inside. They need his veteran leadership and his experience on the floor, the KwaZulu Marlins.
Really a standout performance from Ryan McPhee against the Pride. Ryan McPhee had 20 points, and he was one of the stalwarts in the paint for the KwaZulu Marlins. Getting down the floor is what the Pride do best, and it was just a tough game for the Marlins. They didn't get the result the way they wanted to get it, but they did get the W. And a big-time 3 from Ayanda Shange. And we're going to have a look now at the full-time stats. And the KwaZulu Marlins shot it at 51% from the free throw line. They had 58 big rebounds, the rebounding battle proving key, and 29 turnovers. The Pride had 22 turnovers. They struggled from the three-point line. They had 4 of 23. And the rebounding battle really key. 58-36, it is where the Marlins proved and made the difference.
Well, the Marlins always do this thing of always starting slow in games where we know that they are going to win, and it's always a challenge for them, and Coach Gilchrist is always berating them for that kind of play. But it was great seeing them picking up the win on Friday evening. And our second matchup on Friday evening, we had the Eastern Cape Windbreakers taking on the Mpumalanga Rhinos. This one was also a hotly contested affair from the opening whistle.
Well, an ever-improving Eastern Cape Windbreakers team came out determined against the Rhinos, and they are one of the teams in the league that are definitely improving in the style of play and in their structure. The much favored Mpumalanga Rhinos have given us good performances against 2 of the top 4 teams, and they were always going to be favored going into this encounter.
Well, you've got to love the fact that the Rhinos were not really playing to their strategy on that evening, and the Windbreakers were really taking the fight to them, even though they had won. And that man right there, Andile Hlope, always animated on the sideline, but of course he wants his team to show their best on the floor.
I think even listening to
Panda giving them some production, giving the Windbreakers some production as well.
And even listening to Coach Hlope in his post-game interview, he was not happy with the way the Rhinos performed on the evening. They got the win, they got the W, but he was not happy with how they got the W. The Windbreakers were able to impose some of their style of play. And Tinili Sizwe Madikwa, he's a mercurial scorer. You leave him alone on the three-point line, more often than not, he's going to knock it down for the Windbreakers.
Well, Madikwa is the type of player to knock down big shots and was trying his best to bring his Windbreakers team back in the game. But the Rhinos were really wanting to show some effort on the floor, play hard, and go for a win in this game against the Eastern Cape Windbreakers, even though players such as Ridwan Jobson are also contributing to the Windbreakers offense.
Well, the Rhinos 2 of 14 from the perimeter, 5 of 25 for the Windbreakers. We have another rebounding battle won by the Rhinos. That front court of theirs doing a good job, Maseko, Mokwena, and they were key in the victory over the Windbreakers. 18 assists, 32 turnovers is what displeased Coach Hlope. And you know, the Rhinos had a tough day at the office. They actually had a tough weekend at the office.
They had an absolutely tough weekend at the office, Q. The Rhinos really found it really tough to come out and stamp their authority in the game against the Eastern Cape Windbreakers. And then on Saturday, we take a look at some of that action. And the one game that was really great was the Rhinos taking on the Limpopo Pride. Take a look at some of these highlights because you'll be surprised by the outcome.
Well, going into this game, the clear favorites once again, the Rhinos, and they have a better front court. Bongani Maseko, he's one of those guys. And so is Marcus Mokwena, and he gets out on the break. And he brought some energy on the floor initially. It was a good first half for the Rhinos, and they found ways to score. But slowly but surely, the Polokwane Pride found and lived up to their name. Tsepo Polokwane, one of the players, and this was a breakout game for one of the star shooting guards in the league. And we're going to mention him a little bit later, Christian Kabasele. He just got it down all over the floor and a two-handed hammer out on the fast break. Christian Kabasele was the key reason, and if you have a look at that result, you see Pride going over the Rhinos.
Well, the Pride really took the fight to the Rhinos, and led by that young man right there, Christian Kabasele, scoring a whopping 26 points, leading the Pride to the victory. 2 big threes in the final quarter. Peter Busaka as well got involved in the offense with the team. Christian Kabasele once again with a big 3, and at this point the game was out of reach for the Mpumalanga Rhinos, much to the ire and the chagrin of Coach Andile Hlope. Even though Victor Sambo got involved, that was too little too late for the Mpumalanga Rhinos. And the tail of the tape really gives us a picture of what happened.
Well, the Pride, 19 of 35 from the free throw line. 5 of 24. Of those 5 3-pointers, 4 of them belong to Christian Kabasele, and 4 of them came in the second half. Clearly, that was what made the difference for the Limpopo Pride. 42 rebounds for the Rhinos. They dominated the stats column in terms of rebounds, but they also dominated the stats column on the turnovers. 39 turnovers at a key stat, and it wasn't a great performance by the Rhinos, and a clear loss, you know, to a team that they were favored to beat.
Well, they were a favorite to win that game, Q, but the Limpopo Pride showing that they were beatable. And, you know, a lot of teams really improving their quality of play in the BNL this 2015 season. That just makes us look forward to 2016. We had 4 games on Saturday, but we took 2 games to review for you. And the other game that we did review was the Eastern Cape Windbreakers going up against the defending champions, Tshwane Suns. And, of course, this one, a foregone conclusion, but it was interesting just what happened on the floor.
Well, before the game started, you would have called the Tshwane Suns as outright winners, and Coach McKenna took the chance to rest 2 of his starters, Gideon Malamba and Tish Mabiza. But a rest, and Neo Mutiba seems to be finding a connection with Larry Jackson Jr. on the floor. They have a little connection. They have rapport between the two players on the floor. And that is an example of what's happening. Larry Jackson clearly finding his identity, and it was a breakout game for that young man. Lesiba Makinta.
Well, Coach George McKenna opting to start with a lot of his rookies, first-year players, and young players who are inexperienced. Elias Manganye also got off the bench and got quality minutes. But Dinilisezo Madikwa, hey, there's no stopping this guy from shooting the ball and from shooting lights out. He's going to hit it all the time, every time, and you give him a smidgen of space, and he's going to punish you. And that was just one of those indications there with Madikwa hitting the buzzer beater to close out the quarter.
Never to be denied. Neo Mutiba out on the break, and he throws it down. This was a comical moment. Gola came across to try and block the shot of Neo Mutiba, and his leg ended up in the hand of Mutiba. But Mutiba very rarely throws it down on the fast break. Gola trying to stop him and leg in hand.
Definitely. So you think you can dance. And once again, Lesiba Makinta down the middle, the pass from Nkosi and the one-handed hammer. The Suns like saying that pick and rolls, given goals, hammers down. And that was a hammer down right there for Lesiba Makinta. That's got to be a play and minutes that have emboldened him and given him motivation, and he's encouraged he will be featuring for the Suns in the future.
The Suns were going to use this game as prep for their game late in the weekend. We have a look at the full-time stats. They were 3 of 24 from the perimeter, 13%. 5 of 30 for the windbreakers, and Madikwa again hitting 4 of those. 49 rebounds for the Suns. They turned the ball over 25 times and they assisted 25 times, but they got the win, a big time win, 89 to 58, and that was at that point was the most points that have been scored against the Suns thus far in the BNL.
The Suns are definitely a team that is able, that's been showing throughout the league, throughout the season, that they can hold teams to 50 points or less. But in that game where you had a lot of rookies coming in with making rookie mistakes, of course the lead was going to balloon. The windbreakers finish up with 58 points. We're going to go to a break. You will want to stay with us. We still have a whole lot more basketball action coming up from week 6. We have our top 5 plays and a young player focus. And welcome back to BNL Courtside, your weekly basketball magazine show where we do reviews, previews, and everything that's happened in the Basketball National League. And as we go back to week 6 action, we look at Sunday's games, and a game that would have seemed fairly on par on paper. The Western Cape Mountaineers taking on the Northwest Eagles. Take a look at what happened.
And this is a game, of course, that had playoff implications for both teams. The Western Cape Mountaineers, if they win this game, they need to win every single game to stay in contention for the playoffs. The Northwest Eagles needed to win this game just to have some sort of a say as to what happens for the 4th spot for the playoffs. And of course, it has big contention for both teams and big playoff ramifications for both teams. But the Mountaineers came out playing the better of the two teams. Vince Ntunja found his legs on the offensive end for the Mountaineers. He was a key spark in the first quarter. It was just great to see him make his way on the floor and start to impose his play on the Eagles.
The Eagles, Q, clearly a team that is very lethargic on the floor, still a listless bunch. They're finding it difficult to get it together, and I wonder if maybe their coaching might be an issue there. But the Mountaineers with Standard Mapurisa, at that point in the game, Standard Mapurisa hit 2 big threes and put the game out of reach for the Eagles. You would have expected the Eagles to use their size, but Stephen Gabriel there picking up the and-one play on the dunk.
Well, if Vincent Dunja was the story of the first half, then Standard Mapurisa was definitely the story of the second half. He was the player that led it for the windbreakers. Stephen Gabriel with the 2-handed flush behind the head, a little bit of short time, and the Northwest Eagles really struggled from beyond the perimeter. They struggled from the field. They struggled from everywhere. It was a classic Mountaineers display, and the exclamation point there from Captain Junior Ongenda from the three-point line. And we have a look at the stats. The Northwest Eagles 3 of 27 from the three-point line. They continue to persist with the strategy of shooting from the three-point line, and it hasn't worked for them. 11%, 4 of 16 for the Mountaineers. But what they did well was force turnovers. They forced 43 turnovers from the Northwest Eagles. It was absolutely surreal. A great win for Coach Craig Daniels, and playoff hope still alive for the Western Cape Mountaineers.
An absolutely big win for Coach Craig Daniels and his Western Cape Mountaineers outfit. And I tell you one thing, that spot for number 4 isn't really cast in stone for the Soweto Panthers or for any team right now. 2 teams or 3 teams really are vying for that spot, and you could pencil in any one of them for the number 1 spot going to the playoff contention. Our final game on Sunday, this was a big one, a repeat of last year's BNL finals, the Duzi Royals going up against the defending champions Tshwane Suns, and what unfolded on the court, it was back-to-back end-to-end action throughout from the opening whistle.
And in the words of Razmataz, this was a humdinger for sure. The Duzi Royals had a lot to prove against the unbeaten Tshwane Suns, and they came out with a fire in their legs, a fire in their eyes, a spark in their eyes. It was scoring from everywhere on the floor. Thabo Sithole knocking it down to close out the first quarter. It was definitely one of the games of the season. Alan Denga came off the bench to provide some spark for the Tshwane Suns. They were looking for scoring from everywhere, but there was a key name that is going to be mentioned for the Duzi Royals. Neo Mutiba knocking down the 3. Fumani Maranele, he was an amazing spark player for the Duzi Royals. Actually came to play for the Royals.
Doom Konjo also gave the Suns some production coming off the court, but Teach Mabiza as well really became offensively minded in this game. And Fumani Maranele, I keep saying, he's got the prettiest pull-up jump shot in the Basketball National League, and right there showing everybody that his shot is still right on the money. Teach Mabiza, the steal, down the floor, above the rim, the little big man, and gets everyone involved.
And the story of this game was absolutely matchup. We had Mabiza versus Shabalala, we had Maranele versus Mutiba, we had Mulamba versus Larry Jackson Jr. And down the floor again, Fumani Maranele just did everything right for the Royals. Larry Jackson Jr.
That tandem, once again, you're talking about in Mutiba, finding space in a small crack to find Jackson with a two-handed flush.
6 of 21 from the three-point line for the Tshwane Suns, 7 of 20 for the Royals. They really did do a good job, 39%. They were able to force 24 turnovers from a team that generally takes care of the ball. And more importantly, they were able to score 75 points on the Suns. No team has been able to do that all season long. They only turned the ball over 12 times, and it was an impressive display, even though they were dominated on the boards 46-33.
The Tshwane Suns will regroup from this loss. Of course, they will bounce back. They are a resilient bunch, and they are a team that really sticks to the ethos and the principles that are laid out for the team. But of course, this just throws the race wide open for the championship this season. Now, our player focus for this week, we take a look at the young gunner, Christian Kabasele. This young man has come into his own, and we have him in the game against the Mpumalanga Rhinos, where he dropped 26 points and had 2 blocks and had 3 assists. Christian Kabasele is the future, and he's finally found a fit. And Q, I know that maybe you want to say a little something about Christian.
Of course I want to say a little something about Christian. I think it's something that our co-presenters Nachi Nkgopotse and Globo will confess, is that he thinks he's a star. And I think Christian has found a place at Limpopo. They need a shooting guard. They need someone who's capable of scoring. They need someone who can knock down jumpers, who can get down to the rim. And I think you quite poignantly pointed out, he is not a minimal version of Fumani Maranele, but a player in the same mold. He just doesn't have the strength that Fumani Maranele has, but he's able to get to the rim just as well. He's able to knock down jumpers just as well, and he's definitely a rising young star in the league.
Well, he's a leader on this Limpopo Pride team, and he just needs to make sure that he makes the right decisions on the floor. But in this game right here, led this team and really willed the Limpopo Pride to the win. He loves playing out in the open court, and you see him there with the block down the floor. Christian Kabasele is the total package. He does everything. He can shoot the ball, he can take it inside, he can shoot the mid-range jumper, he can get up, he can dunk. I keep hearing about his performance in the Red Bull tournament, and I hear he did amazing things.
Well, he did do amazing things, and what you need to know is that he's a knockdown shooter, and that's the most important thing. He's a two-guard. A two-guard is supposed to shoot and knock down threes. We've been preaching about this all week. That you look at those shooting percentages from the past weekend, it was actually quite pitiful what was happening behind the three-point line. And this man right here, Christian Kabasele, he did quite a good job from the three-point line.
Right now, we have our top 5 plays of the week, and at number 5, we've got my man, the young, we've got Teach Mabiza at the number 5. Well, it was an emphatic finish by Teach Mabiza. didn't surprise him because he can get up, but surprised everyone, including us in the booth, at what a way he can finish down on the floor. And you see everyone there in the Suns really on their feet, enjoying that moment and really surprised.
And then I guess at number 4, we have Larry Jackson Jr. now. LJ, no stranger to the dunk fest that happens in the BNL. LJ, of course, last season for the Duzi Royals had one of the dunks of the season, and here for the Tshwane Suns, he does an amazing job.
Well, Larry Jackson here keep catching it, and he was just too much for Lungisa Kola. There's no way the young man was going to keep up with Larry Jackson Jr. in height, in strength, in speed, and in agility, and in finishing. Larry Jackson Jr. showing the young man just how to play in the post and to finish.
Well, the reason I really like that dunk is because I'm a big man, and you know, if you're able to break down your defender, able to take that jab step, get around him and put it down, it's a big man's dunk. It's a basketball fan's dunk. It's a purist's dunk.
Well, at number 3, another big man, Jonathan van der Bijl of the Egoli Magic, working it in the low post and showing his footwork and power finish.
And again, this is another big man's dunk. Van der Bijl, he works Kader in the post, drop step, turns around and puts it down with 2 hands. There's just so much good about this dunk. Backing a man down, spinning on him and getting up to get down.
Well, in that instance, it was just great seeing Fesile feeding the ball in the post, and Jonathan van der Bijl already had in mind what he wanted to do, backing down his player, the drop step, and then finishing with the 2-handed flush. That got the crowd excited in Wembley Arena, and of course the Egoli Magic really loved that play.
Well, the thing you have to love about this play is that Fumani Maranele breaks down his defender Neo Motiba. Neo doesn't get beaten off and off the dribble, and acrobatics in the air, beating Mabiza, who comes across to help, switching to the left hand, and that is just an agile play.
It was just incredible finish by Fumani Maranele, switching hands in the air, and it tells you about his experience. It tells you about just what a phenomenal player that he is, and he's really added value to the Duzi Royals.
Our final play for the week, of course, is Tsepo Mogosi, and I don't think anybody would have seen this coming. This game against the Free State Golden Warriors, Mogosi gets down, coast to coast almost, elevates, and Motlane comes across to try and affect the block, and all he gets is a one-handed hammer in his face.
Well, definitely, that was a fun crusher plus by Tsepo Mogosi, really crushing it on the young man, the rookie, Mokgotso Maswane, definitely earning his stripes in the BNL, but Tsepo Mogosi really coming through as one of the players who are adding value for the Soweto Panthers, and the reaction of everyone after that play really punctuating that moment. It was a great weekend of basketball in week 6, but let's look forward to week 7 and what you should expect.
Well, Friday night, the Royals take on the Eagles and the Zebras take on the Mountaineers. It should be an action-packed evening. And then Saturday, we have the Mountaineers taking on the Duzi Royals, a game that has playoff implications for the Mountaineers, a game they must win. The Soweto Panthers take on the Eastern Cape Windbreakers, and the Egoli Magic take on the Mpumalanga Rhinos. The Windbreakers and Marlins headline Sunday's action, and the Tshwane Suns will in the Sunday playing against the Limpopo Pride. And we have a look at the log right now. The Suns still at top of the log, the Magic second and the Royals third, and they are 8-1 and 7-1 respectively. The Panthers, Mountaineers and Eagles still have a little bit of a say, but that Panthers-Mountaineers battle is intriguing. If they win that game against the Royals on Saturday, they set themselves up for a clash with the Panthers.
It was just an absolutely great weekend of basketball that we witnessed last week in the Basketball National League, and just great seeing the crowds coming out to Wembley Arena, really enjoying the action. Once again, a shout out to all the crowds that came out throughout the whole weekend, out of their own will, to just come and witness what the Basketball National League has to offer. We look forward to week 7, and it's been great basketball, and we look forward to more basketball coming up. Q? Last thoughts?
It is our absolute pleasure to bring you this amazing BNL action, and we do thank the fans and thanks the crowds that come out to the stadium week in and week out. Week 7 promises more exciting BNL action, and we look forward to seeing you out there.
Well, thank you very much, Q. And we look forward to week 7. We'd like to thank you for watching, and like TP said, close the door, turn off the lights, see you courtside.